Hey guys, here to do the review for Attack of the Clones. Hopefully this will be a semi-shorter video than the Phantom Menace review, which if you have not seen, go check that out. Because I really don't have too much to say about this movie, because I will go on record at the very beginning as to say that this is my least favorite of the prequels. Positives. I really like the Yoda battle. I really like the arena fight. And I really liked seeing R2-D2 and C-3PO back together again. You know, they're kind of like the Laurel and Hardy of Star Wars, and I really enjoyed seeing them interacting together, because we didn't really get to see that a lot in the Phantom Menace. Negatives, everything else. Literally. Pretty much. Everything else. I hate the love story. You didn't need to do a movie where 90% of it is, well, I shouldn't say 90, that's a little overboard. Where 75% of the movie is love story to have us care about what eventually happened in Revenge of the Sith. I don't care about what happens in Revenge of the Sith because I saw Attack of the Clones. I care about what happens in Revenge of the Sith because I care about Anakin and his downfall and seeing what happens and how he becomes Vader. Because I don't care about Attack of the Clones. Hayden Christensen's acting in this movie leaves you wanting to ask, where did they find this guy? Cause wow. And kind of going back to something I kind of hinted at in the Phantom Menace review, is a lot of people didn't like Jake Lloyd as Anakin in the Phantom Menace, but I really don't think you could have found a better child star around that time. But just go on IMDb alone and look at all the actors that tried out for the role of Anakin, and I promise you any single one of them would have done a better job than Hayden Christensen did in Attack of the Clones, without a doubt. And Natalie Portman, okay, so we didn't get that much of her in Phantom Menace because the story didn't really call for it, you know, but she wasn't bad in the Phantom Menace. But somehow you give her a much bigger role, a much I think a much meatier role, despite it being all love story, and she completely throws it out the window. And I don't know what happened, because I love Natalie Portman, and you know, after Star Wars she went on to do V for Vendetta and Black Swan, which I completely love. And so that's why there's a big part of me that wonders if all the negatives with the prequels, if maybe it was on Lucas's shoulders and not as much the cast, because that is a big possibility. Because, you know, one of the things that a lot of people had a problem with, and this one, and I guess it was there to a degree in Phantom Menace as well, but definitely more in this one and Revenge of the Sith, but the CGI element and all of like the computer digital stuff. But that, you know, that really didn't bother me. You know, it made it look like a fantasy movie. It made it look pretty. That is not what takes me out of the movie. It's the acting. Because look, you could look at my DVD collection, and there are many of them, you know, that you're gonna say, I don't know why you have that. I don't know why you have that. That's a piece of garbage. Why do you like that? Why is that here? And this is gonna be my response. Because it made me feel something. I got connected to the story. While production-wise this movie is a piece of shit, the rest of it is awesome. And that's how I feel about this. You know, if they would have done Attack of the Clones and gave it heart and gave it a good story, that's all that they would have really needed to do, you know. But they didn't. And it's a real shame, because you know, they could have had something really, really awesome. And the length of the movie, you know, with everything else that is so just cheesy and bad about it. Then you have to sit through it for 2 hours. And it's just, you feel it. You feel every 10 minutes of this movie. And that shouldn't be. Because as flawed as Phantom Menace is, you don't feel that with that movie. Not in my opinion. I didn't feel that with that movie. I did not feel the length of it as much as it has flaws. There are moments that I enjoy enough that it carries me through to the end. Whereas this, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's this part. La-da-da, la-da-da, on my phone, la-da-da. Oh, okay, now we're at this part. Oh, okay, well, alright. La-da-da, la-da-da, okay. You know, and that's what it is. That's all it is. It's just something to get you from point A to point B, and it's just a huge failure. The last thing that I don't have in my negatives, which I should, is the whole Boba Fett thing. Look, if you ask any of my friends or anybody that knows me really well, and you ask them what is his favorite Star Wars character, I will always tell you, and they will always say Boba Fett. Boba Fett is my favorite Star Wars character. Out of the villains, out of the heroes, out of everybody, I love Boba Fett. And it's because he's so underused. It's because he has such a, I think, a big part to play. He's really cool. They did something cool with the character that you don't see that much. And not a lot of filmmakers can do that like Lucas did with Boba Fett in the original trilogy, and the directors behind Empire and Return of the Jedi. You know, they did this character really well, and then we get to the prequels, and now look, the idea of Jango Fett, because a lot of people don't like the fan service that Lucas kind of did with the prequels, and I think having that in episode 3 was kind of inevitable because it's the film that connects to the original trilogy, so you're gonna have some carryover. So we all knew that we were gonna get it with whatever happened in episode 3. There was gonna be carryover with that, but you didn't necessarily need that with episode 1 and 2. And as a fan of the Mandalorians, all right, I liked the silver and blue suit. I liked it. I thought it looked cool, okay? I even think the name Jango Fett is kind of cool, alright? But he's just but Boba is just a clone of Jango? So they're virtually the same person. And that's what kind of bothers me, is I think they just, on a similar note, not as much because I don't think that Boba or Jango Fett and any variation is as important as Darth Maul or Qui-Gon was, but similar to a point that I made in the Phantom Menace review, I feel like if they would have had Boba as like a natural son and not a clone, that would have meant more. I'd say, okay, so this Jango guy, he's got a kid. He's got a kid that he's got to take care of. He's got a son, all right? So they could have given his character like backstory and a huge motive. You know, yeah, he's still a bad guy and he still has done some pretty terrible things, but there might be some reasons why he's doing them. Whereas now, okay, so, all right. And that's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel. And this is no absolute discredit to the actor that played Boba in Attack of the Clones, because for what he was given, I thought he did a really good job, and all of that jazz. And from what I've seen, you know, of footage from, like, you know, the Star Wars celebrations and different things that he's done, he seems like a really nice guy. And so this is, you know, no dog on the actor at all. It's what they did with the character. It's just, come on, really. The rating for the movie, I gotta give a 4.5, 4.5 out of 10. I cannot go higher than that. It is not at all fresh at all, in my opinion. It's bad. It's bad, bad, bad. It's the worst film in the Star Wars franchise, and as long as we never get another movie like this, I think the Star Wars fans will be good. It's knowing what Disney is doing with the future of Star Wars, I think we're finally in good hands. Let me know what you think about Attack of the Clones down below. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with, all that kind of stuff. Like the video, because if you don't, I don't know whether you like it or not. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.